I think that I will move on next to analyzing the fee levels in private schools. Now, there is an impression, journalistic impression, or impressions created through the popular media, through newspapers, and through our own perception when we drive around the streets, when we travel around the streets. For those of us who live in urban areas, what we see are the big schools. If one lives in Delhi, one sees the modern school on Barakhamba Road, one sees Sanskriti school, schools that are established close to big roads and which are visible, that have large buildings and who have buses, and the buses mention the schools' names. So journalistically also, those schools are covered in newspapers, their functions are covered, who are, which are tenanted by children from well-off homes, which are high-fee schools, and also in the perception of the policymakers, because the policymakers' own children attend such private schools, the high-fee private schools. There is a perception that private schooling is by and large an elite phenomenon, an elite or high-fee phenomenon. Is this perception borne out in the data? Is there indeed any data with which we can check whether this perception, the veracity, the truth of this perception? It turns out that there is virtually no data in India on collected by anybody on the fee levels in private schools. However, very fortunately, the National Sample Survey data for the year 2014-15, because that happened to be a total investigation on schooling and education, that round of the NSS data. Therefore, we do have this information, and I have analyzed that information to be able to understand the private school fee levels. Now, it turns out that the public perception is in fact not quite correct, because for one thing, those of you who may be a little statistical in your background, you would know that quantities like income, expenditure are log-normally distributed, they are not normally distributed. A normal distribution is a kind of a bell-shaped distribution, and a log-normal distribution is highly skewed. For early numbers, for example, at low income levels, there are massive number of people at low income levels. So the frequency, the height of the graph is going to be really high. But as income increases, the number of children number of people that have those high income levels is fewer and fewer and fewer. But there are some people who are millionaires, so there will be very, very tiny number of people who are millionaire. But there will be some people who are billionaires, there will be even fewer people who are billionaires. So it's a very skewed graph like that. And so it turns out that fee level is also a highly skewed distribution. When you, and in my paper that I published in April 2017, I have shown the graphs, and you will also be able to see the graphs showing that the distribution of fee is not normal, it is log normal with a long tail at very, very high levels of fee. So when a quantity is distributed like that,